In this chapter, we will discuss how Russian state media has declared the start of World War III, and do they really mean it? And will Finland and Sweden be Putin's next targets as these countries try to join NATO? Read this news headline. This is a very bold statement given by a Russian channel. Rosia 1 is a Russian news channel, and the presenter Olga has said that Russia has entered World War III against NATO, and in her rant, the Russian anchor aimed at explaining the viewers why the special operation in Ukraine is taking so long. World War III hype comments by the Russian media came after Ukraine's missile strike destroyed a Russian warship, Moskva, that sank in the Black Sea. The Russian ship had 529 crew members on board. This ship was a prized possession of the Russian army and Putin. All of you might not understand, but destroying a warship is a big deal. It can initiate World War III. The 12,000-ton cruiser is the biggest Russian warship to be sunk in action since World War II. And do you recall when a tiny force of Ukrainian border troops was guarding Snake Island and a Russian ship requested them to surrender? And then the Ukrainian soldiers reacted with curse words. That video went viral across social media. So this is the same Russian ship at the other end on the conversation, and now it has been destroyed by the Ukrainians. In a moment, I will give you a compelling argument on why we are at the verge of World War III. But first, let's see the response of Russians. Russia denied this claim and stated that Moscow suffered damage from an accidental fire. But Ukraine claimed the credit for destroying the ship of Moscow's Black Sea fleet through its Neptune missiles. The USA, on the other hand, says that it also believes that the Russian ship was hit by Ukrainian missiles. Ukraine has said that the captain of the warship was killed on board. And this is a very crucial asset for the Russian army during the invasion of Ukraine. Maikova, an expert from Ukraine's National Institute for Strategic Studies, told BBC that the ship didn't itself fire missiles at Ukrainian land targets, but it offered crucial support to the other ships that did. And now we have a huge concern, as most experts have predicted that the remaining ships in Russia's Black Sea fleet will now be more exposed to aerial attacks by the Zelensky army. And that may trigger World War III. And earlier in the month, Zelensky claimed, "I am ready for negotiations with Putin, but if they fail, it could mean World War III. Meanwhile, please subscribe to the channel because I believe in producing highly researched geopolitical videos that will keep you informed about what's going on across the globe. Later, I will tell you about a new Russian general nicknamed the Butcher of Syria by the military community because he is so ruthless. This is what he did to Syrian cities. And he's currently leading the invasion of Ukraine. And looking at his past record, if someone can start a world war, it's him. But first, let's go back to the basics. We have to understand what is the meaning of a world war. These are the scenes from the First and the Second World War. They are horrifying. Imagine how lethal the photos would have been if they had cameras like the latest iPhones at the time of these wars. The word World War was used for the very first time by a Scottish newspaper, the People's Journal, in 1848. The newspaper described the First World War as a war among the great powers is necessarily a world war. And this definition still holds true today. Currently, Western powers are supplying weaponry to Ukrainians, but they are not directly involved on the ground. Kyiv-based journalist Veronica suggested a global conflict may have been boiling for years. Ukrainians did not believe that Putin would dare to launch a full-scale invasion, but he did. Because in Moldova, Georgia, Syria and Ukraine, he got away with his crimes. On the other hand, Russian ally Belarus also warns of World War III. And if you think we were done with bad news, I'm sorry, we have more. This is General Alexander, and he is very cruel. The international army community has given him the nickname Butcher of Syria. Putin has appointed him as the new leader of the attack on Ukraine. He led Russia's operation in Syria, and he has a history of targeting innocent civilians. Now the war could be said to enter a brutal new phase as Moscow prepares a major attack in Ukraine's east. An expert on geopolitics, James, said the appointment of this new general indicates Putin's intent to continue this conflict for months, if not years. During his time in Syria, Russian General Alexander used terrorism-related tactics such as collaborating with Syrian forces, using torture centers, implementing systematic rapes, and utilizing nerve agents. In the Russian army, brutality towards the civilians of an enemy country is never investigated or even reported, let alone punishing the brutal troops. While analyzing the Russian army, Yermolenko, a philosopher, said, "I think there is this kind of culture of violence. Either you are dominating or you are dominated." In the last video, I talked about the war crimes that the Russian army committed in Bucha. So read these headlines. And as we do not want the same to happen in Stockholm or Helsinki, we have to talk about Finland and Sweden. Now Putin has made it his life's mission to attack every country that wishes to join NATO. And if that country borders with Russia, Putin will most certainly invade it. Finland shares a 1300 kilometer or 810 mile long border with Russia. Prime Minister Sanna said Finland will decide in the next few weeks about the NATO membership. And here is one very important thing that she said. The difference between being a partner and being a member is very clear and will remain so. There is no other way to have security guarantees than under NATO's deterrence and common defense as guaranteed by NATO's Article 5. This statement by the Prime Minister of Finland shows how seriously they are considering joining NATO. Later, I will tell you the names of the countries that will fight in World War III, as well as how World War III teams will be formed. But right now, let's talk about the pressure on Sweden and Finland. Lithuania is already a NATO country. Lithuania's president has requested Sweden and Finland to join NATO, and he also said that there's nothing new in Russia's threat. The politicians in Sweden and Finland are facing a lot of pressure from their own people to join NATO. Public opinion in the two Nordic countries has swung rapidly in favor of joining the alliance. Politicians in both Helsinki and Stockholm have to take quick decisions regarding the future of their country. A study by CSIS indicated that up to 62% of Finnish citizens are now in favor of joining NATO, with only 16% opposing the move. This is a huge change from the 21% who were in favor back in 2017 poll. A recent survey found almost identical sentiments among the politicians of Finland. Major parties who traditionally oppose NATO membership are reevaluating their stance. And if we talk about Sweden, the post-invasion poll shows that over 60% of the Swedish population is in favor of joining NATO. But Russia has already begun to threaten the two Nordic countries. Russian jets have violated the airspace of Finland and conducted cyber attacks against government websites. And come on guys, let's not forget what happened in Bucha and all the horrifying things that the Russian soldiers did to innocent Ukrainian civilians. Before every world war, there was a massacre. Now we have to discuss the countries that will make up two sides in the world war. Keeping the current scenario in mind, the first team will be of Team USA, the European Union, the UK and Ukraine. These four countries will be together considering their current stand, and Israel will join them. Israel will surely side with US as most of their enemies will be on the other side of the conflict. They receive most of their weapons from the US, which is their strong ally. Then comes Canada, a democratic country located near the US with strong terms with the Europe. And then we have Taiwan, the smallest nation which is fighting for existence, will without a doubt side with the countries that recognizes it. Then we have Japan and South Korea joining them. South Korea is surrounded by China and North Korea. So just like Taiwan, they will support US when the fighting starts. And Australia will also join these countries. So this will form the Team 1 of the World War III. What about the Team 2? The first member will be Russia. And the country that has stood up as Russia's best friend in this whole scenario is China. Team 2 will also have Belarus as a member, and then comes Iran. The USA and Israel consider Iran an enemy and the Russians back it. And the last member of Team 2 will be North Korea. The country is allied with China and Russia. There might be a few that I have missed, but I think these are the most prominent players. And these will be the teams keeping the current scenario in mind. And we will also have a lot of countries that will remain neutral. However, we must all hope that the Russian news channel Rosia 1 is incorrect.